It started with a picture, just a regular, heartwarming photo of Kelly Rowland holding her baby boy Titan back in 2014, but the internet doesn't do regular very well. People zoomed in, they compared, they whispered, and before anyone could blink, Titan's face was suddenly being dissected across social media like it was part of some wild conspiracy board. The jawline, Jay-Z. The eyes, definitely Jay-Z. The expression, way too familiar. Some fans even took side-by-side screenshots and started building theories as if they were solving a crime. But this wasn't just about a baby photo anymore. This was about loyalty, about betrayal, about one of music's most iconic friendships getting thrown into the fire. Because if what people were saying had even a hint of truth to it, then the fallout wouldn't just be gossip column material. It would be the kind of drama that could rewrite how fans viewed Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and Kelly Rowland forever. See, the reason this story had such weight wasn't because of Titan himself, it was because of who his mother was. Kelly wasn't some distant acquaintance. She and Beyoncé had grown up together. They weren't just bandmates in Destiny's Child, they were practically sisters. They lived together, traveled together, fought for the same dream together. If something like this had happened with anyone else, it might have still made headlines. But with Kelly, it was personal. Too personal. What fueled the fire even more was the timing. Titan was born just months after the infamous elevator incident, the one where Solange went off on Jay-Z like he had just detonated the entire Knowles family trust. For years, people speculated about what triggered it: cheating, lies, something darker. And then Titan's birth quietly slid into that same timeline. It didn't take long for the internet to start drawing connections that hadn't been made before. Was this why Solange snapped? Had she found out something that the rest of us weren't supposed to know? But the rumors didn't just fizzle out like most internet gossip. They stuck. They kept evolving. Because as more people began to revisit Kelly's past, especially her music, things started to feel off. Fans pulled up her 2013 track Dirty Laundry, and suddenly those lyrics hit a little differently. Lines about jealousy, betrayal, toxic relationships, and feeling like you're living in someone else's shadow. At the time, most assumed she was singing about a bad boyfriend or the pressures of being Beyoncé's bandmate. But now it felt like she was trying to tell us something without actually saying it. And then came the supposed video, the one that allegedly showed Jay-Z and Kelly in a moment that was a little too close for comfort. Was it real? No one could confirm, but in the court of public opinion, that didn't matter. The damage was done, people ran with it, frame-by-frame breakdowns, wild interpretations, even astrological readings. Yeah, it got that deep. What kept the whole thing alive, though, was the silence. Not one word from Beyoncé, nothing from Jay-Z, and Kelly, she stayed quiet too. No denials, no clarifications, just silence. And when celebrities don't shut a rumor down, it doesn't fade, it multiplies. People began to ask, if it's not true, why not just say so? The silence started to feel like a statement of its own, and fans, as they often do, began to dig even deeper. Every old Destiny's Child clip, every red carpet interaction, every moment of hesitation or awkward glance was reanalyzed. Was this really the friendship we thought it was? Or had something already cracked it wide open behind the scenes? Jay-Z's name being tangled up in paternity rumors wasn't exactly new. For over a decade, a man named Rymir Satterthwaite had been trying to get the rapper to acknowledge him as his biological son. Rymir's mother claimed she had a relationship with Jay-Z back in the 90s, long before the fame explosion when she was just a teenager and he was in his early 20s. She insisted that her son was the result, and while Rymir wasn't chasing clout or cash, he just wanted a paternity test. Jay-Z's response was consistent, complete silence. That silence made people uneasy, not just because of the legal back and forths and the blocked court motions, but because it set a pattern. Jay-Z didn't engage, didn't confirm, didn't deny, and when a powerful man keeps dodging a basic DNA test for over 10 years, it starts to raise eyebrows. People began to wonder, was he protecting his image or was he hiding something much more serious? The connection between the Titan rumors and the Rymir situation became a point of obsession for online investigators. Different cases, sure, but both had eerie similarities. In both stories, the women involved were young and close to Jay-Z's world. In both stories, there were whispers of betrayal, and in both, Jay-Z never directly addressed the accusations. Fans weren't just curious anymore, they were suspicious. And then there was Solange. The elevator moment wasn't just a physical outburst, it was a cultural moment. The footage showed her swinging, yelling, going completely off, while Beyoncé stood still, almost like she was holding something in. Nobody knew exactly what Jay-Z had said or done that triggered the chaos, but after the Titan speculation began, the internet came back to that footage with fresh eyes. Was that rage just about cheating? Or had Solange learned something so explosive it shattered whatever restraint she had left? Some even speculated she had been defending Beyoncé in a way only family can when betrayal gets too close. The attack wasn't random, and it wasn't about spilled champagne or a bad comment. It looked like someone trying to knock truth into the open. Beyoncé, on the other hand, said nothing. But when Lemonade dropped in 2016, it felt like a scream in slow motion. She didn't name names, but the lyrics cut deep. Betrayal, heartbreak, and the iconic Becky with the good hairline ignited global speculation. Most of the attention went to people like Rachel Roy and Rita Ora, but in the shadows of Reddit threads and unfiltered podcasts, some asked the unthinkable. What if Becky wasn't some industry side piece? What if it was someone closer? The theory that Becky could be Kelly Rowland made some fans furious, others horrified, but it didn't go away. People began reviewing old performances and interviews with a microscope. They pointed out stiff body language, cold glances, and moments of distance between Beyoncé and Kelly that seemed subtle back then, but screamed tension now. It didn't help that Kelly rarely mentioned Jay-Z or Beyoncé in interviews after 2014. It felt like a wall had gone up between them, one carefully guarded and never explained. Everything suddenly looked different. Destiny's Child, once seen as the blueprint of girl group sisterhood, was now being dissected like a case file. Beyoncé had always been the front woman, but fans remembered how Kelly was sometimes pushed to the background. Less vocal spotlight, subtler outfits, and fewer solo moments. At the time, it was brushed off as standard pop group politics. Now it felt like a prelude to something deeper. If there had been resentment, jealousy, or worse, this was the moment it all bubbled to the surface. And the music? It was no longer just art, it was evidence. Lyrics became confessions. Performances turned into coded messages. Fans didn't just listen, they decoded. The idea that a decades-long friendship could be hiding fractures this deep was difficult for some to accept. Beyoncé and Kelly weren't just pop stars, they were part of a cultural legacy. They represented strength, unity, and Black excellence on a global scale. So to even imagine that their bond might have been quietly torn apart by betrayal was jarring. But the internet doesn't shy away from messy stories. In fact, the messier it gets, the more obsessed people become. What kept this theory alive wasn't just the supposed resemblance between Titan and Jay-Z, or even the silence from those involved. It was the consistency of the patterns. Jay-Z's avoidance, Kelly's vulnerability in her lyrics, Beyoncé's coded messages in Lemonade. And fans weren't just speculating out of boredom. They were piecing together a puzzle they believed had been hidden in plain sight for years. Old award show clips were rewatched. One moment in particular sparked more debate than anyone expected, a backstage clip where Beyoncé walks ahead while Kelly lingers behind, only catching up after someone calls her name. It was a blink and you miss it moment, but fans saw it as symbolic. In a group built on sisterhood, was one always being left behind? Even interviews were scrutinized. When Kelly spoke about her journey, she often referenced personal battles, feeling overshadowed, or finding her voice outside of Destiny's Child. In hindsight, some of those quotes hit differently, especially when layered with the weight of the rumors. But the most chilling aspect wasn't the internet sleuthing, it was how quiet everything remained. No statement, no legal threat, no PR denial, just continued silence. And when celebrities are quick to shut down falsehoods but choose to say nothing here, it only adds fuel to the fire. Silence started to feel less like professionalism and more like damage control. Jay-Z's reputation, already complicated by cheating admissions and Rymir's case, wasn't doing him any favors either. Every time he appeared at a public event with Beyoncé, fans watched closely. Were they really okay? Were they still just a power couple, or was there something more complicated brewing beneath those smiles and shared Grammy stage moments? As for Kelly, she carried on with her career, movies, music, motherhood, but rarely spoke about her Destiny's Child days in detail. Public appearances with Beyoncé became rare, social media interactions faded, and although some fans tried to explain it away as life just moving on, others weren't buying it, not when the timing aligned so suspiciously with the Titan controversy. It wasn't just fans theorizing either. Podcasts, YouTube, exposés, and tabloid headlines all joined the frenzy. Some labeled it pure gossip. Others said it was the industry's biggest unspoken secret. The deeper people dug, the more eerie connections they found. Not hard facts, but shadows. And in pop culture, shadows often speak louder than sunlight. What made the entire story so haunting was that it involved people the public had grown up with. This wasn't just tabloid drama. These were women who inspired generations, who had stood on stage hand in hand singing about independence, resilience, and female empowerment. To imagine that behind those harmonies were secrets, tensions, and maybe even betrayal, it was a story too big to ignore. Whether the rumors were true or not didn't matter anymore. They had taken on a life of their own, and in that vacuum of truth, the narrative kept evolving. Jay-Z's silence, Beyoncé's poise, Kelly's distance, it all formed a triangle of unanswered questions. And until someone finally speaks, the speculation won't die, because when legends stay silent, the world fills in the blank.